Okay, I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee today at 7 p.m. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Mayor Donchis,
Here.
Alderman Clee,
Here?
Alderman Camo, Alderman GOV is here, Alderman Clemens,
Here.
Alderwoman Timmons,
Here.
Alderman Moran.
Here.
Also in attendance is Cheryl Linder, Amy Gerard, I don't see him, Dan McMullen, and Matt Sullivan. So I don't see Gary here.
Yes.
Okay, is there anybody here for public comment? Seeing none. Communications?
First communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, repurchase of food box van in the amount of $62,795 funded from 81500 Vehicle Surf.
I do not see Mr. Connors here. I was told he would probably speak to it. Amy, did you want to speak to it at all? I do have some information from Mr. Griffin as well as from Mr. Sullivan, but please. Oh,
Good time.
Hi, are you Jerry?
are you Gary?
Gary Connors, yeah, with the school district.
Okay,
I'm up.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, you're up.
All right.
Also in attendance is Gary Connors. So we just kind of give a description of the request. If you want to speak at the podium there.
Okay.
Speak into the microphone.
All right, do
Thank
for me.
you. Just state your name. Oops.
Gary Connors, National School District.
Okay.
We're requesting to purchase a food service truck for the National School District Service, Food Service Department.
Okay. I'm going to give a little bit more information also as well. I did speak to Mr. Smith as well as Mr. Griffin relative to this. We got a letter from Mr. Smith speaking of that this was put on the SURF and approved by the Board of Aldermen in fiscal year 2021. At that time, it was put in for $62,595. This request is for $62,795, which is less than 1%, so we don't have to go back to the Board of Aldermen for approval. Mr. Smith in his letter spoke about a year and a half ago that he had found the same item for $49,673, but because of supply chain issues and so on, it did not get ordered. And since then, he has been shopping around, trying to do this, and the best price he could get was the $62,795. For the public that's listening, someone would say, well, you approved it in fiscal year 2021, but why are you you're waiting till now to purchase it? That's very common. We put something on the SURF as it needs to be replaced, and that is the year that we approved to put it on. That is the price that we have at that time, and as we all know, prices have gone up significantly, especially on vehicles and a variety of other types of things. So what happened was this went on there for the $62,595, not the $49,673 that we see in the first paragraph, but the $62,500. And we don't always purchase something just because we put it there. If we can delay it, meaning we can get more life out of something, we try to do that. And from what I can tell, you guys have really pushed the envelope on this. Is that correct?
Absolutely, spent a lot of money and actually transferred it to another vehicle. But yes, it's, we certainly get the life out of the vehicle. Currently using a 2009 vehicle, opposed to 2006 that is demised.
Okay. Do you know what would be happening to the 2005 that, will we be trading that in, or will it be used for parts, or?
Well, actually, it blew the motor.
Ooh.
And it was I think it was last fall, blew the motor last fall. It was scrapped in the scrapyard. And currently using another, that was a 2006, we're in a 2009 right now, that's had a lot of repairs. And it looks like we have to go on one more year with what we have here now.
Right. Thank you. So having said all that, are there any questions from Alderman Moran?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So is it basically, this delivers food from one school to another, or what's the truck?
No, so this is a food service truck, so for the full district. I know it's 18 schools, but about 20 buildings. And so the central hub is the Natural High South. There's state deliveries to the two high schools and the middle schools, but essentially the core of the food service program is South School, and there's daily deliveries to not all the schools daily, but through a schedule, it services the city of Nashua school district food distribution.
Follow up.
Yes, please.
So basically, if we don't get this new truck, kids could have a day where one old truck breaks down, they don't get the food that they need?
Sure, you don't know how hard it's been for the last 2 years. I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
think
been pretty bad,
I think it's a
actually.
great idea to do this now.
Yes.
Or it could have been a better idea to do it 2 years ago.
Yes.
Well, actually, we did 2 years ago, but yes.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Alderman Glidden?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have more of a statement inquiry, maybe you know in your conversations, but it said the new cost of $62,759. This cost is slightly above the SURF budgeted amount of $62,509. And then they went on to note that the two other vehicles purchased in FY21 were well below budgeted amounts. Just wondering, when that all evens out, do we have a number of if they're below and by how much, because of like where all the numbers ended up settling? It says they bought two below, they're buying one slightly above, so where are we when it comes to the budget?
Alderman Clemmons may be able to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I do believe that what happens is the SURF money is the SURF money. We pull from that fund, so if something is above or below, it comes out of that, just like it's a general fund, but it's for these particular types of SURF. So we don't really save money or less money if the money comes below, which is more that we have in that we don't have to fund correctly. We don't have to fund the next year. And we don't pull money out of the SURF, we just put money into it. Did that answer your question a little bit?
I will try to rephrase.
Okay.
I understand that portion of it. It's more of, at the end of the day, we've bought what seems like 3 vehicles. It'll be this one and the other in FY21. When it comes to the total price, are we above where we expected to be, or are we below where we expected to be?
That I don't know, and I don't know if Mr. Connors would be able to answer that.
I think it's actually kind of well below. There was 2 other vehicles that were purchased that there was a replacement for a 2004 Taurus that went in for $37,000, was purchased for 29 and some change. I have that in another folder. And then the other vehicle was a Chevrolet 2007 Chevrolet electrical 1-ton van, work van, was put in the SURF program for $40,000. It was purchased for $38,000 last year because could not find a vehicle, could not get it new. We got a brand new used one instead of 2022 model. It was a 2021. Is one that somebody didn't purchase or could. I'm not quite sure the circumstances, but that was purchased for $38,000 and some change.
Thank you. And that answers.
Yes, that
okay,
was
thank
perfect.
you. I'm sorry I misunderstood
No,
your
no,
question.
no problem.
The other thing I do want to comment, today I received a number of phone calls of people being very upset and, why are we doing this for the school district and so on. I believe a number of years ago, the Board of Aldermen decided that it would not be school district equipment and city equipment, it would all go onto the SURF. Am I correct, Alderman? You don't know?
I
Okay.
don't know.
When I spoke to Mr. Griffin, that's kind of what he had indicated. There was a point when we would put this in the school department or school district budget, but now we don't. We put it all in the SURF budget, and that way we can look at it all as a whole and not have to look at it differently. So unlike the school district budget, where we don't yay and nay all of their purchases other than their bottom line, this we do have a voice in. So, are there any other questions? Okay, having said that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And no opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Connors. I think
Thank you.
That's your last one that you're on the hook for, right?
Not easy the last couple of years.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
So am I all set, or?
You're all set, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk?
Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, software maintenance in the amount of $25,572.49, funded from 5400 software maintenance / general fund.
Excuse me, I'm
Sure.
very sorry there. I know
That's okay.
that, and I'm thinking of numbers walking out, but it says 62 and change, and it's actually, it's actually 66,000. Don't mean to congest things here.
We have it for $62,790.
Yeah, that was the last year's price. They pushed us to next fiscal year at 66.
I think that will put it over the 1%. And then we may have to go to the Board of Aldermen. Do the quick calculation here. It's 10%? Are we?
Here it is, 66,217. So what happened is, we tried to get in fiscal year, they didn't open their fiscal year until late November. And going through the process and such, they only a certain amount, and they recently said that everything, all the vehicles from Ford have been purchased, and that we're on the 24 cycle at 66,217.
Okay. Ms. Gerard, is that within the 10%?
Yes, that is.
It is within the 10%, so.
Yeah, 69,000 and change would be the 10%.
Okay, do we need to?
Do a new motion.
Yes, we need to amend the motion.
Tyler has to withdraw his motion.
Yes, well, we've already
Well, we
voted.
already passed
already
it, so
voted
we
on
need a
it.
new
But-
motion.
But we're going to withdraw the motion, even though we voted on it? No.
We're just gonna do a new
You
motion.
need to do a new motion.
Okay, let's do a new motion, and it'll be for 66,217. Mr. Clerk?
So that's for 66,217?
Yes.
All right, so I will move to approve the purchase of a 2023 Ford E450 cutaway chassis with Dejana Debirkel Pro aluminum body to replace the 2006 food service delivery truck for the Nashua School District through Grappone Ford in the amount of $66,217. Funding will be through Department 191 School Fund 81500 Vehicle / Surf.
I just want to.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
and I would add at the end of that and rescind the previous
Okay.
purchase.
I could add that in.
And rescind the previous
Mhm.
approvals. Ms. Linder, is this work within the SURF? Are you? Okay. So we don't need to go to the Board of Aldermen, or, because it's within the 10%. Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the, we're going to say the change of 66,217, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? There being none, the motion carries. Thank you so much, Mr. Connors.
Thank you.
And thank you for clarifying it for us.
Thank you.
Okay. Next communication?
Yes, next communication for Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Software Maintenance in the amount of $25,572.49, funded from 54407 Software Maintenance / General Fund.
And this would be Mr. McMullen?
Dan McMullen, Information Technology. So MHC Document Express is basically, it's an add-on to our core financial system, Lawson. It allows the software to capture data from Lawson to create documents, either electronically or printed, such as accounts payable checks, purchase orders for Amy, payroll checks, W-2s, 1099. We've used the software since 2012, and this is basically an annual renewal for the maintenance on the software.
Are there any questions? Is this the same price as previous year, or has there been an increase?
I believe it was an increase. I didn't have time. I was a little bit last minute coming tonight, but most of those maintenance contracts probably have a 10 or so % increase per year. Most of those in the contract itself, it has a clause in there that you're going to see increases every year. I don't know what it was last year,
Okay.
but I
know.
imagine it was probably a little bit less.
It was less than the 10% rule for an annual renewal. I know that much. I don't know the exact number that it was last year, but it
Yeah,
was less than.
if I'd had time, I would have took a quick peek at that. I looked it up, but
So
I'm not.
it's less than a 10% increase. Thank you so much. No questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. McMillan. Mr. Clerk?
Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Contract Amendment Number 2 in the amount of $32,975.93, funded from 54210 Construction Services / FTA grant funds.
Director Sullivan? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Matt Sullivan, Community Development Director. The amendment before you is an amendment that really does two things for the purposes of closing out the project for the Transit Center reconstruction. If you're not aware already, that project from a construction perspective has completely wrapped up, but it was substantially delayed by the period of about a year or 12 months in time from its initial scheduled completion date in late 2021. There were a variety of reasons behind that, but one of the costs that was incurred is before you this evening, and that is that both as part of the extension of the time that the contractor was working on the project and as part of some of the complications associated with the closeout that will happen over the coming 3 months, this is a request before you to enhance the contract with the city's representative contract engineer, GPI, at the amount of $32,975.93. The other adjustment that happens here is an extension of time on the contract so that closeout services can be provided to the city. What's critical, or two things that are critical to point out, is one, that we have existing budget remaining in the project to actually do this amendment, to bring GPI on to complete these services. The other is that the source of funding for the project is federal. It's FTA as a funding source. It's not actually city dollars that are going into this amendment. Should the amendment be approved this evening, we're confident we can close out the project cleanly by the date identified within the extension, and that is March 31st, 2023. Happy to answer any questions that the committee might have.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Those opposed? Thank you, Director Sullivan. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, next communication from Mayor Jim Donchis, emergency PO request, Sunbelt bypass pumping.
There being no objection, we'll accept the communication and place it on file. Unfinished business,
There is none.
tabled in committee,
There is none.
new business resolutions.
R-23-081, authorizing the City of Nashua to enter into a contract with ATA Outdoor Media for transit advertising services.
I guess you're up again, Director Sullivan. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. From something I know a good deal about to something I know a little bit less about, but I'm learning about, and that is the advertising services that are provided through the Nashua transit system. If you're not familiar, when you see our buses going around town, you see a bus stop, or even going by the transit center or looking at marketing materials, you'll sometimes see some corporate sponsorship associated with that. That's actually part of an advertising contract that we maintain with an outside vendor. And a new advertising vendor is in front of you this evening, and that is ATA Outdoor. Just by way of quick background, ATA is a well-known firm, particularly within the New England and New Hampshire region. They provide services to other entities in the state, including Manchester Transit Authority, and we have a high level of comfort with the work that they'll provide. They actually were the vendor for the City of Nashua in the past, so we have a familiarity with them, and really decided to part ways mutually several years ago and are now looking to re-enter into a contract with them. As I just reviewed, this is a revenue contract that actually brings revenue as part of a split into the city. It's a 60-40 split as identified within the contract. And that's based on the ability of the contractor to productively and effectively sell advertising to entities within the community. And again, that advertising is placed on the buses, on bus stops, on any other static facilities that might exist like bike racks or the like. And then obviously to do that via digital advertising as well as opportunities present themselves. I'm happy to get into any other details of the contract that you might be interested in. This is a 3-year contract extending through January 31st of 2026 and may be extended as needed beyond that period of time. And again, the proposed revenue structure is such that there's 60% of the gross revenue going to National Transit System, thereby the city, and 40% going to ATA Outdoor. I will point out one fairly unique provision of this contract. It's really a performance piece, and that is that under the contract, there are certain minimum payment terms or revenue terms that go to the city. Under this proposed contract, year 1 is $21,000 of minimum revenue, year 2 is $36,000, year 3 is $48,000, and years 4 and 5 that are optional will be $50,000. Again, that's a minimum revenue payment that's made to the city. Really, that's a performance clause for the city to ensure that the advertising is being done properly. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? I just have, I'm sorry.
Oh, you can go first.
No. Alderman Moran, please.
Will this be a substantial cost to the consumer customer change? Will there be a increase in pricing?
That's a great question. So for Alderman Moran, I assume you're asking for someone who wants to purchase advertising. There's not a substantial change in that. No, it's fairly comparable rates that they'll be charged. Yeah, that's a great question though.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The only question that I have is when you say that the guaranteed $21,000, $36,000, $48,000, $50,000, that is to the city, is that correct?
So that's correct. That's not of the total share. That's the 60% that's guaranteed to the city. That's
Okay.
correct.
So
Yeah.
so even if they don't hit that number in all of it, we're going to get a minimum of that?
That's
at
correct.
least. Okay,
Yep.
thank you so much.
I will, perhaps I'll go beyond what I should tonight, but there have been cases in the past where there have been particularly challenging periods of selling revenue, where there have been amendments to advertising contracts that the city has had to do. We don't expect that here. We're confident that this entity can perform their duties, particularly based on their local experience, but the advertising market can be volatile, and so an amendment is not unheard of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no questions, the motion is to recommend approval. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. New business?
There is none.
Sorry, new business ordinances. Records of expenditure.
Yes, I move that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinances pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period from December 30th, 2022 to January 12th, 2023.
I believe that we've all signed that, but all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
And those opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you. General discussion? Public comment? Seeing no one out there, I will say none. And remarks by the alderman? Seeing none?
I have one.
Oh, sorry, I
Sorry.
apologize.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Alderwoman Tippin, sorry.
Okay. Yesterday I reported a young lady being missing from Manchester. She was found safe
Oh, nice.
and she's back with her family.
Wonderful. It's nice to hear good news for a change. Any other remarks? Mr. Clerk, I will ask you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to adjourn.
All
I'm just joking.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? We don't have Alderman Lopez here to oppose, so the meeting adjourns at 7:24 PM.